Have you ever looked in a mirror and felt like you don't recognize who you become? Have you ever wondered, where did the real me go? Life moves fast, people change, expectations pile up, and somehow, without noticing, we drift away from who we truly are. Why does it feel like the more we try to keep others happy, the more we lose our own happiness? Why do we keep saying yes to things that don't feel right, just to fit in, just to be accepted? Imagine a candle trying to light up a room, but it's placed inside a box. No matter how strong the flame is, the light gets trapped. That's how it feels when we forget ourselves in the noise of the world. One day, a young woman sat alone in her room, feeling completely lost. She had the job, the clothes, the followers, but inside there was silence. Not peace, just emptiness. She had spent so long becoming what others wanted, she forgot who she used to be. This story is not just hers. It belongs to many, maybe even to you. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, a place where ancient Buddhist teachings shine light on modern struggles. If you're tired of pretending, of wearing a smile that hides the truth inside, you're in the right place. This is where we explore how to stop losing ourselves again and again, and finally start living from the inside out. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribed. If this message touches even a small part of your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps us grow, and it helps these stories reach others who might need them just as much as you do. Buddhism teaches that losing yourself isn't failure, it's forgetting. And forgetting can be undone. Through mindfulness, we begin to see clearly again, not the image others want from us, but the quiet truth of our being. That truth is not gone. It's just been covered by fear, by desire, by pressure. The Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Yet how many of us live like we believe that? We chase approval from outside, but it leaves us more empty than before. In Buddhism, the self isn't a fixed identity, it's a flowing river. But that doesn't mean we have to drown in it. We can learn to float. We can learn to guide it gently. When we cling too hard to labels, I'm successful, I'm nothing, I must be perfect, we suffer. We get stuck, and then we forget who we are beyond those rules. This journey back to yourself starts with awareness. Not changing the world, just noticing. When you feel tired, ask why. When you're saying yes to something you don't want, pause. That little space between thought and action, that's where your true self waits. So in this series, we will walk a path together, not to find a new version of you, but to remember the one who is always there, hidden, waiting, still alive. Let's begin. The noise that drowns the soul. Sit with me, my child. Let the world quiet down for a moment. There is something we must talk about, a silent thief that enters our lives without asking. It doesn't wear a mask. It doesn't make a sound. But slowly, it takes away something very precious, your own voice. You see, in this world there's too much noise. Not just the cars on the street or the loud voices on television. I am speaking of the kind of noise that fills your heart and your mind. The endless opinions, expectations, comparisons, and distractions. That noise is not always loud in the ears, but it is heavy in the chest. From the moment we wake up, the world begins to speak to us. Look this way. Buy this thing. Be like her. Don't be like him. Speak louder. Smile more. Do better. Be faster. And before we even finish our first breath of the morning, we are already being pulled in 100 directions. Do you feel this? You're not alone. Everyone feels it. That constant pull. That strange emptiness. That pressure to be more, without even knowing what more means. And slowly, we start to believe that if we don't keep up with the noise, we will fall behind. But behind what? Behind whom? Ask yourself this, and the noise may tremble. In the old teachings, the Buddha warned us about this kind of distraction. He called it Mara, the deceiver, the tempter, the one who keeps us stuck in illusion. But today, Mara doesn't always appear as fear or anger. No, now he comes dressed as endless scrolling, shallow praise, or the fear of missing out. When you forget to sit in silence, when your mind is constantly fed by outside voices, your own heart becomes harder to hear. That soft, gentle whisper inside, the one that knows what truly matters, gets lost. And so, people walk through life like strangers to themselves. I met a man once who worked from sunrise to midnight every day. He told me, "I have no time to rest. I have goals to reach." And I asked him, "What will you do when you reach those goals?" He looked confused. "I'll make new ones," he said. So I asked again, "And when will you stop running?" He became silent. That silence was the first true moment he had in many years. In Buddhism, we say that the mind is like a cup of water. When it is shaken, the dirt rises and the water becomes cloudy. But if you let it be still, the dirt settles and the water becomes clear. The noise in your life is the shaking. The stillness is your healing. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Many people are afraid of silence. They are afraid that if they stop and listen, they will hear things they don't want to hear. Maybe pain, maybe regret, maybe truth. But listen, dear one, that truth is not your enemy. It is your doorway back home. You do not need to silence the world. You only need to find silence inside you. Even in the middle of chaos, you can create space. A few deep breaths, a walk in the early morning, a minute before picking up your phone. These moments, they are medicine. And this is not something only monks can do. You don't need a temple. You don't need a road. You only need to care enough about your soul to listen to it again. Why do so many people feel exhausted, even after a full night of sleep? Because sleep rests the body, but noise still chokes the mind. People carry stress not just from work, but from 1,000 little voices telling them who to be. Do you remember what you loved as a child? Before the world told you what was important? That is still inside you, but it has been buried beneath noise. You must dig gently. No force, just honesty and time. There's a reason the Buddha often stayed silent when asked certain questions. Not because he had no answer, but because the questioner wasn't ready to hear the answer from within. He was teaching them to trust their own wisdom, not to rely on borrowed voices. So how do we begin this journey of quiet? First, we must recognize when the noise appears. When we feel nervous opening social media. When we get angry at something we don't even understand. When we compare our lives to others and forget our own paths. That is the noise speaking. Once you see it, you can choose differently. You don't have to answer every message. You don't have to know everything all the time. You can choose slowness. You can choose depth over surface. And in doing so, you create space where your own voice can rise again. The great Zen teacher Linji once said, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." What do you mean? Not to destroy truths, but to destroy your attachment to external forms. The real Buddha is not outside you. He is the silence in your chest. He is the clarity that comes when the noise fades. Many people search for meaning in life, but forget that meaning is not always found in answers. Sometimes it is found in the stillness between words, the pause between thoughts, the breath between actions. That is where your soul speaks. So, my dear one, do not try to win against the noise. Just don't feed it. Each time you choose stillness, you weaken its hold. Each time you turn inward, you reclaim a piece of yourself. And in time, the silence won't feel empty. It will feel full. Full of your own truth, your own peace, your own presence. Let this be your small step today. Turn down the volume of the world. Just a little. And listen. Listen not with your ears, but with your heart. The voice you've been searching for has been waiting in the quiet all along. Shall we continue walking this path together? There is still more to remember. The illusion of identity in a changing world. Sit down, my dear one. Breathe slowly. Do not rush. The world outside is already moving fast enough. Today, let me tell you something very simple, but also something very deep. Something that can quietly change how you see yourself and how you live. Let me ask you first, who are you? You might say your name, or your job, or your role in the family. Or maybe you'll say, I'm a student, I'm a businessman, I'm a mother, I'm an artist. These answers are not wrong, but they are not the full truths. These are just clothes you're wearing right now. And like clothes, they change with time. When you were a child, did you call yourself any of these names? No, you're just a being full of wonder, running after butterflies and playing with mud. Then, over time, People started calling you things. You are smart. You are too slow. You're bad at math. You're a good girl. Slowly, you began to believe these things. Like mud sticking to your feet, these ideas stuck to your mind. And you started walking through life not as yourself, but as the image others built around you. This is the illusion of identity. Buddhism teaches us that the self is not fixed. It's not one thing you can point to and say, that's me. Just like a flame, it changes shape. Just like a river, it keeps flowing. But we, in our confusion, try to freeze it. We say, this is who I am, forever. And then we suffer when life forces us to change. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man named Ravi. Ravi was always told he's a strong leader, and he believed it. But one day he lost his job. He felt ashamed. He said, if I'm not a leader, who am I? He became depressed, not because he lost his job, but because he lost the identity he had clung to. Do you see the trap here? Ravi didn't lose himself. He only lost an idea of himself, an idea that was never permanent in the first place. In Buddhism, we speak of the five aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These five things come together to create the illusion of a solid self. But like a rainbow, it looks real from far. Yet when you try to grab it, it disappears. This is why the Buddha said, there is no permanent self. He didn't mean you don't exist. He meant that what you think you are, your status, your personality, your titles, even your thoughts, is always changing. And if you attach yourself too strongly to any of them, you will suffer. Let's go deeper. Why we fear change so much? Because we think that if something changes, we lose control. We lose identity. But life is change. Look at nature. The flower doesn't remain a bud forever. The sun doesn't stay in the sky at night. Even a mountain, though strong, gets shaped slowly by the wind. If nature can accept change, why can't we? Because we have ego. The ego is like a mask. It tells us, this is who you are. Protect it at all costs. So we fight. We lie. We cry. We try to fix ourselves into a shape that life doesn't agree with. And slowly, we become tired. The truth is, you are not your mask. There is a peaceful space inside you that watches all these changes. That part of you has no name. It doesn't need approval. It just is. And when you touch that part, even for a moment, you will feel a calmness that no outside identity can give you. Let me tell you another short story. A young monk once asked his master, who am I truly? The master pointed to a candle. You're like this flame, he said. It gives light, it dances, it warms the room. But if the wind comes, it moves. If the wax finishes, it dies. Still, you don't cry for the flame, do you? You understand it was never meant to stay forever. It served its purpose. Just like that flame, your rules, your emotions, your positions, they come, they serve, and they go. You're not those things. You're the one watching it all. When we stop clinging to identity, we don't lose power. We gain freedom. You are free to be kind today and strong tomorrow. You are free to rest today and lead tomorrow. You are free to be quiet now and laugh later. Nothing binds you unless you hold it tightly. People try to name you. Let them. But don't believe every name. Someone may call you selfish when you set boundaries. Someone may call you boring when you walk away from noise. Someone may call you weak when you choose peace over fighting. These are their views, not your truth. The Buddha once said, just as a snake sheds its skin, we must shed our past over and over again. This includes shedding our ideas of who we think we are. Let them go gently. Do not fight. Just notice how much you hold on. Today, I invite you to do something very simple. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. No music, no distractions. Ask yourself, who am I right now? And don't answer with words. Just feel. You may notice that beneath all the thoughts and rules, there is just stillness. That stillness is your true home. And it never changes, even when everything else does. So remember this. You are not what the world calls you. You're not your job, your social media, your looks, or even your thoughts. All these are passing clouds. You are the sky, live like the sky, open, spacious, unbothered by the shapes passing through. You don't need to lose yourself again. You only need to stop grabbing on to what was never you in the first place. Let go and come home to yourself. We will continue this path, step by step. Stay gentle, stay curious, stay awake. Until the next time, walk with peace. The trap of desires and attachments. Sit down, my dear one. Let your heart be quiet for a moment. Let's talk, not as teacher and student, but as two souls walking the same road. Today, I will tell you something that may seem simple, but it holds the weight of the whole human struggle. Why do we suffer so much, even when we seem to have everything? A nice phone, a comfortable bed, people around us, good clothes, maybe even money. Yet, still a heaviness stays in heart. A hunger. That hunger is not for food or water. It is the hunger of desire. You see, desire is not just about wanting things. It's about holding on to what we think we need to feel whole. We chase success because we think it will make us enough. We cling to people because we fear being alone. We keep wanting more love, more praise, more beauty, because we believe that without those, we are not complete. But that is the trap. Buddhism teaches us that craving is the root of suffering, not the objects themselves, but our attachment to them. When we cling, we become blind. We don't see the thing clearly anymore. We only see what we hope it will give us. We turn people into answers. We turn dreams into cages. Let me give you an example. A young man once asked me why he felt so tired all the time, even though his life was good. I asked him to name the 3 things he was chasing. He said, love, success, and respect. I asked him what would happen if he didn't get them. His face dropped. Then I will be nothing, he said. That answer, my child, is the beginning of deep suffering. We forget that we are already something, already whole, even before the world collapsed for us. But desire tells us the opposite. It whispers, you need this to be happy. And when we get it, it moves the goalpost. Now you need more. Now you must protect it. And when it fades, which all things do, it breaks your heart. So the Buddha did not say, do not love. He said, do not cling. He did not say, do not dream. He said, do not be consumed. The difference is small in words, but vast in experience. Let's go deeper. Imagine a bird flying freely in the sky. It lands on a tree branch, rests, and then flies again. Now, imagine tying that bird to the branch. What happens? It cannot fly. It suffers. It becomes weaker, even though the branch is still there. In life, we must learn to rest on things, not tie ourselves to them. But how? How do we live without being cold or distant? Through mindfulness. When we are mindful, we enjoy a thing fully, without fearing its loss. We love people dearly, without turning them into our lifeline. We achieve goals, without making them the reason for our worth. Mindfulness teaches us to experience joy without trying to freeze in place. We drink the tea, not the idea of having tea every day for life. We listen to music, not try to own the song forever. We love someone today, not guarantee their presence forever. This is the art of lightness. This is freedom. I once met a woman who clung to her past relationship. The man had left years ago, but she still cried for him every night. He was my everything, she said. I asked her, did he teach you love? She said yes. Did he teach you pain? She said yes. Then he already gave you everything. She looked at me, silent. Love is a teacher, not a possession. When we learn what it brings, we let move on. The attachment to what is no longer here is what chains our heart. And chains can be made of gold too. Just because something was beautiful doesn't mean it should stay forever. Buddhism shows us that impermanence is not our enemy. It is our greatest gift. Because things change, pain can pass. Because things change, we can grow. If everything stayed the same, we would be stuck forever in yesterday's sorrow. But people ask me, if I don't hold on, will I lose everything? No, my child. When you let go, you finally see what stays. What remains when the clinging ends is true. It is love without fear, peace without condition. That is the real treasure. Now, let me share something deeper with you. Desire is not just about things. It is also about identity. We desire to be someone, the smart one, the strong one, the pretty one, the perfect one. But every time we try to fix ourselves into one image, we suffer. Because life doesn't let us stay one thing forever. Sometimes we are broken. Sometimes we are weak. Sometimes we fail. But none of these erase who we are. They just remind us that the self is fluid, like water. And water does not resist. It flows. It adjusts. It moves around rocks and becomes part of rivers. So the next time you feel pain in your heart, pause and ask, what am I clinging to? A person? A title? A moment that is gone? Then gently release. Don't force. Just notice. And breathe. A tree lets go of its leaves in autumn. Not because it hates them, but because it knows it must make space for new growth. Letting go is not rejection. It is wisdom. Now, my dear listener, I want you to close your eyes and take a breath. Let all your desires rise to the surface. See them without shame. Say to them, thank you for showing me what I long for. Then release them, one by one, like clouds drifting in the sky. This is not an act of giving up. It is an act of waking up. When you let go of the things that are not you, you begin to remember who you are. And who are you? You are not the desires that keep changing. You're not the person others expect you to be. You're the awareness behind it all. You're the space where all things rise and fall, but you remain. In this moment, choose to soften your grip. Even if the world tells you to hold tighter, choose to breathe and trust the unfolding. Because freedom doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. This, my child, is the way out of the trap. This is how you stop losing yourself again. And this is how you come back to your true self, gently, softly, and fully alive. The silent power of mindfulness. Come, sit for a moment. Let your shoulders relax. Let the noise inside you soften. You've been running, haven't you? Running from thoughts, from emotions, from silence. Trying to keep yourself busy so that you don't have to face the feelings that rise in stillness. But my dear, stillness is not your enemy. Silence is not a threat. It is the beginning of something sacred. Today, I will tell you about something that is very old, yet always new. It is a key to your peace, your clarity, and your truths. It is called mindfulness, the simple word, yet a doorway to remembering who you are. In this world, people are always doing. Wake up, check the phone. Eat while watching a screen. Walk while worrying. Talk without listening. Breathe without knowing they're breathing. And in all this doing, something very precious is lost. Being. Mindfulness means to come back to the moment you're living right now. It means to notice. To notice how you sit, how you breathe, how you feel, what you are thinking, and how your heart moves. It sounds small, but do not be fooled. It is the most powerful step you can take to stop losing yourself again. When you eat mindfully, you taste. When you walk mindfully, you arrive. When you breathe mindfully, you live. Let me tell you a small story. Once, a student came to the Buddha and asked, Master, what do you and your monks practice every day? The Buddha replied, we sit, we walk, we eat. The student, confused, said, but Master, we also sit, walk, and eat. The Buddha smiled and said, yes, but when we sit, we know we are sitting. When we walk, we know we are walking. When we eat, we know we are eating. That is the difference. You see, most people are not really present. Their body is in one place, but their mind is somewhere else. At work, they think of home. At home, they think of work. While eating, they think of talking. While talking, they think of sleeping. And while sleeping, they dream of everything else. This is how people lose themselves, slowly, without realizing it. Every moment that passes without awareness is a step away from your center. But the moment you stop and notice, you come home. Mindfulness is like a mirror. It shows you what is really there. And that's why so many people are afraid of it. Because in silence, the truth comes. The pain they've hidden, the worries they avoid, the thoughts they push away. But remember this, what is seen can be healed. What is faced can be released. What is embraced can be transformed. You cannot fight the darkness by shouting at it. You light a candle. Mindfulness is that candle. You do not need to fix everything. You only need to see clearly. That's all. Just see the noise, the tension, the anger, the longing. Once you see it with kind awareness, it begins to soften. It loses its grip on you. Many people think mindfulness is only for monks, that it is something difficult or special. No, Mindfulness is for everyone. It does not need a quiet mountain. It can happen in a kitchen, a classroom, or a crowded train. It only needs your attention. Even if you take just 3 mindful breaths in your day, you're planting seeds of peace. 3 breaths to stop. 3 breaths to feel. 3 breaths to return to yourself. When a mind becomes quiet, the heart begins to speak. And what does it say? It reminds you, you're not broken. You're just buried beneath too much noise. A person who is mindful becomes light, not because they have no problems, but because they no longer carry the weight of yesterday and tomorrow. They walk with presence. They speak with calm. They listen with openness. Mindfulness also teaches us to respond, not react. When someone is rude, we don't need to explode. When life doesn't go our way, we don't need to break down. We can pause, feel, breathe, and then choose. That small pause can save relationships, protect peace, and remind you of your strength. In Buddhism, we call this sati, the remembering. To remember to return. Return to the breath. Return to the body. Return to the now. It is not about doing something new. It is about remembering what was always there. You may ask, but Master, how can mindfulness help me stop losing myself again? A wise question. Because when you are mindful, you do not move through life like a leaf blown by the wind. You do not say yes when you mean no. You do not follow every noise. You begin to live instead of react. You begin to hear your own voice again. And this is how you stop losing yourselves. You wake up, not once, but again and again. Each breath is a doorway. Each step is a choice. Each moment is a return. And slowly, the pieces come back. The forgotten joys, the small delights, the honest truths, the deep calm. Mindfulness does not promise you a perfect life. It gives you something better, a real life. A life where you are awake, alive, and aware. So today, I ask you this, before the sun sets, can you take 5 minutes, just 5, to be still, to feel your breath, to notice your thoughts without chasing them, to sit with yourself like an old friend? Do not wait for a better moment. This is the moment. This is where the journey begins. Again, you don't need to change everything. Just begin with awareness. And remember, every time you return to yourself, you have already won. This is the silent power of mindfulness. It is gentle, but it is strong. It does not shout, but speaks to the soul. And it will always lead you home. Detachment without losing compassion. So you have come this far. You have listened with patience. You have walked a little on the path. Now you are ready for something very delicate, something many misunderstand: detachment. When people hear the word detachment, they often think it means not caring. They imagine a cold heart, a person sitting alone, unmoved, untouched. But this is not the Buddhist way. No. True detachment is not the absence of love. It is the presence of deep understanding. You see, a tree lets go of its leaves every autumn. Does that mean the tree did not care for the leaves? Not all. The leaves danced in the wind, gave shade in the summer, and the tree cherished their time together. But when it is time, the tree lets go. Not with bitterness, not with regret, just with peace. So too, the wise person lives in a world surrounded by people, responsibilities, dreams, and yet inside there is space. Space to breathe, space to release, space to love without clinging. You ask, but Master, how can I love someone and still be detached? That is the great art. Let me tell you a story. There was once a monk who cared for a young orphan boy. The boy had lost everything in war. The monk raised him like his own child. Years passed. One day, the boy said, "Master, I want to leave and serve in the village. I want to help others." The monk smiled. He packed the boy's bag, gave him food, placed his hand gently on his head, and said, "Go. May you carry peace wherever you walk." He didn't cry. He didn't beg him to stay. But inside his heart was full of love. You see, he let him go not because he didn't care, but because he cared enough not to hold him back. That is detachment with compassion. Most people either cling too tightly, or they push everything away to avoid pain. But the middle way, this is what the Buddha taught: to love fully, to give deeply, but not to grasp. Have you ever held sand in your hand? If you squeeze it too tight, it slits out. But if you hold it gently, it stays. This is how relationships, desires, and even our thoughts must be held, with gentleness, not force. People often suffer not because things end, but because they never learn how to let go with love. Compassion is not weakness. It is seeing others clearly and wishing them well, even if that means they walk away. Detachment is not coldness. It is knowing that everything is changing and you don't have to fight that truth. When the Buddha saw suffering, he didn't turn his back. He stepped closer, but he didn't get pulled into it. He saw the pain, he felt the sorrow, but his mind remained still. Like a lotus flower floating on muddy water, it is touched by the water, but never drowned by it. Now listen closely. Detachment also means learning to stop defining yourself by what you possess: your name, your job, your status, your success. These things can all disappear in one moment. If your peace depends on them, you will always be afraid. But if your peace comes from knowing who you are beyond these things, then no storm can shake you. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're holding a cup of tea. You love this cup. You drink from it every day. But one day it slips and breaks. If you were attached, you would be angry, maybe even cry. But if you had practiced attachment, you would smile and say, "Ah, it was beautiful while it lasted." That doesn't mean you didn't enjoy the tea. That doesn't mean the cup wasn't precious. It means you accepted the nature of all things. Everything that arises will also pass. In this world, everything is temporary. People come and people go. Money grows and then it vanishes. Bodies are born, grow strong, and then grow old. So we hold on to. When you cling to, the answer is nothing, and that is your freedom. But remember, detachment is not escape. It is not running away. It is not closing your heart. It is staying open without being broken when things change. It is caring without needing to control. It is giving your best and accepting the result without bitterness. The Bodhisattvas, beings of great compassion in Buddhism, they live with detachment and love. They don't sit in caves hiding from life. They walk into the world, help others, lift those who are suffering, but inside their hearts are still. Why? Because they do not act from craving. They act from wisdom. You can do the same. You could be a parent and still be detached. You could be a friend and still let go. You could serve others and still have peace. Detachment does not mean saying "I don't care." It means saying, "I care so much, I will not let my fear destroy the beauty of this moment." Let me ask you, how many times have you suffered because you tried to control something that was already changing? How many nights have you stayed awake because you were afraid of losing something? Now imagine a life where you love fully, give deeply, and still sleep peacefully. This is the fruit of true Buddhist detachment. But it takes practice. It takes mindfulness. It takes courage. It takes the willingness to be present without demanding that things stay the same. So what can you do starting today? First, watch your thoughts. When you feel pain, ask yourself, am I hurting because something ended or because I was holding on too tightly? Second, practice generosity. Give without expecting. Love without conditions. Help without reward. This is how the heart softens and expands. Third, spend time in stillness. Even 10 minutes a day. Seek quietity. Let your thoughts come and go. Notice how everything inside you rises and falls like waves. Then you will see, even your emotions are not permanent. Fourth, remember the lotus. Remember the teacup. Remember the monk and the boy. These are your teachers. Not just stories, but mirrors, showing you a way to live that is lighter, freer, and filled with silent power. And finally, forgive yourself. You have clung. You have feared. You have cried when people left. That's okay. You are human. But now you're learning a new way. You're learning the wisdom of holding on gently and letting go peacefully. This is not the end of your love. It is the beginning of real love. Compassion with detachment is like sunlight. It warms, it nurtures, it gives life, but does not try to own the flower. It simply shines. Shine, my dear one. Shine, and let others shine too. How ego quietly replaces the self. Sit, child. Come closer. Let me tell you a story. not of monsters with fangs or shadows that chase us, but of something even quieter, even more dangerous, a shadow that wears our smile, speaks in our voice, and walks around pretending to be us. That shadow is the ego, and if we are not careful, it replaces our true self without us even realizing it. Now listen gently and listen fully. In this world, we all want to feel safe. We want to feel seen, important, respected. This is natural. It is part of being human. But the mind, clever and restless, creates a mask to protect us. That mask is called the ego. It is built from our fears, our pride, our desires. And with time, we forget that it is a mask. We think the mask is who we are. It starts small. Maybe someone praised you when you were young. You're smart, they said, or you're better than others. It feels good, doesn't it? So you chase more of it. You build your identity around being smart, being special, being the best. Not because you're bad. No, because you are human. But this chasing becomes a habit, and the habit becomes a trap. The ego whispers, you must always be right. The ego warns, don't let anyone see your weakness. The ego demands, win, but over yourself, be above. And we obey it, thinking we are protecting ourselves. But slowly, something quiet begins to happen. The real self, peaceful, humble, aware, starts to disappear, replaced by a version of us that is always acting, always comparing, always afraid to fall. Have you ever gotten angry because someone corrected you? Felt hurt when someone else was praised instead of you? Refused to apologize, even when you knew you were wrong? That is not your true self. That is the ego, putting on armor, drawing lines, building walls. The Buddha warned us, not against enemies outside, but the one inside that pretends to be our ally. Let me tell you a man who came to me many years ago. He was proud of his success. Dressed in fine robes, rings on his fingers, he said, Master, I have everything, but I feel empty. I smiled and asked him, who are you when your robes are gone? Who are you when no one is watching? He became silent, not because he was wise, but because he had never asked himself that before. That's the question the ego doesn't want us to ask. Who am I, really? The ego lives in the past and future. It feeds on praise from the past and fear of losing in the future. But your true self? It lives only now. It does not need approval. It is not afraid to be small. It knows its value, even in silence. Sometimes, people confuse ego with confidence. But they are not the same. Confidence is calm. It does not need to shout. It does not need to win. Ego is loud because it is afraid. Confidence flows from understanding. Ego comes from insecurity. Buddhism teaches that the self is not a solid rock, but a moving river. The ego tries to freeze that river, turning it into ice with labels like, I am successful, I am important, I am not like them. But life is not ice. It is water. It flows, it bends, it changes. If we cling to fixed ideas of ourselves, we suffer. And that is how ego creates pain. There is a Zen saying, the tighter you hold the rope, the more it burns your hand. Ego holds tightly. It clings to name, to fame, to control. And slowly, it starts burning us. We feel restless, jealous, defensive. We fear rejection. We try to be perfect. And then we wonder, why are we so tired? Because pretending is heavy, child. And ego is always pretending. You may ask, but Master, how do I know when ego is speaking? That is a wise question. Here is how you know. When you're defending yourself without peace, it is ego. When you're comparing without compassion, it is ego. When you're acting only to be seen, it is ego. When you're too proud to ask for help, it is ego. When you want to win but don't know why, it is ego. And so, if ego is so dangerous, must we destroy it? No, that is not the Buddhist way. We do not fight the ego with more ego. We do not hate the mask. We simply stop wearing it. We see it clearly. We understand it. And slowly, it fades. How? By practicing mindfulness. By observing our thoughts without judgment. By accepting our mistakes with softness. By listening without waiting to reply. By doing good without needing to be praised. There's a beautiful freedom in not needing to prove yourself. There is a deep peace in being nothing special. Because when you become nobody, you become free. Ego is always in hurry, but your true self can wait. Ego always needs more, but your true self is content. Ego makes no ise. Your true self is silent. Listen to the silence. That is you. Remember, the flower does not compete with the one next to it. It simply blooms. You too can bloom, not to impress, not to win, but just to be, because being is enough. You are enough. So, do not fear the ego, but do not trust it blindly. Watch it gently. Laugh at it kindly. Let it go softly, and when it comes back, and it will, do not be angry. Smile. Sit with it. Recognize it, and return again and again to the quiet place within you that has never needed applause. That place is home. That place is peace. And that, my dear one, is the path to remembering who you truly are. Let's continue walking it together. The wisdom of emptiness and the self. The student bowed deeply and asked the Zen Master, Master, I have heard you speak often of emptiness, but I do not understand. How can emptiness teach us anything about ourselves? If the self is empty, what then remains? How can I find myself in emptiness? The Zen Master smiled gently, eyes calm like a still lake at dawn. Ah, these are good questions, for they cut to the heart of the matter, he said. Emptiness is not nothingness. It is not a void that swallows all meaning. Rather, emptiness is the very nature of reality itself. It is the space in which all things arise and pass away. He paused, looking toward the garden outside where the wind stirred the leaves of a tree. Consider the tree, the Master said. Is the tree just the bark, the branches, the leaves? What if we take away the roots, the earth beneath it, the sunlight and the rain? Can the tree still be called a tree? The student thought deeply and replied, No, Master. Without those conditions, the tree cannot live. The tree depends on many things to be what it is. Exactly, said the Master. This is emptiness, the understanding that nothing exists independently. Everything is connected, dependent, and changing. The self, too, is empty. It does not exist as a solid, fixed thing. It is not separate from the world around it. It is a constantly changing flow of experiences, feelings, and thoughts, all arising because of conditions. The student's eyes widened. But if the self is not fixed, does that mean I do not exist? Am I just an illusion? The Master's smile deepened. You exist, but not in the way you think. The self is like a wave on the ocean. The wave is real, but it cannot exist apart from the ocean. It rises and falls, changes shape, moves with the wind and tides. Yet we often mistake the wave as separate from the ocean. Understanding emptiness frees us from clinging to a fixed identity, the Master explained. When you see yourself as a solid, unchanging person, you suffer because you try to protect, defend, and hold on to that false image. But when you see the self as empty, changing and connected, you become free. The student looked puzzled. But Master, if I am empty, how can I be happy? How can I be strong or confident? The Master chuckled softly. Ah, the beauty of emptiness is that it does not take away your strength. It gives you true strength. When you let go of clinging to a rigid self, you stop fighting against life. You begin to flow with it, like water that moves around obstacles rather than breaking against them. He continued, True confidence comes from knowing your nature deeply, not from holding on to titles, opinions, or rules. Emptiness shows you that you are more than all these things. You are not limited by your fears or desires. The student's mind was quieting, and a gentle light was growing inside. Master, how do I practice seeing this emptiness in daily life? The Master folded his hands and said, Begin with mindfulness. When you notice a thought, I am this or I am that, pause. Look at it closely. Ask yourself, is this true forever? Is this permanent? You will see that these ideas come and go like clouds in the sky. He added, Meditation helps you experience emptiness directly. In deep meditation, you let go of all concepts and labels. You rest in the present moment, where the self is neither fixed nor lost. It simply is. The Master looked kindly at the student and said, Do not fear emptiness. It is the womb of all life, the openness from which everything arises. When you embrace emptiness, you discover the true freedom of being. The student nodded slowly. Zen Master. Emptiness is not a hole or a loss. It is the space that holds everything. Yes, the Master said softly. Emptiness is full. It is the fullness of potential and peace. When you understand this, you stop losing yourself. You stop searching outside. You find yourself in the very flow of life. He stood and gestured to the garden once more. See the flower? It blooms, it withers, it returns to the earth. It does not cling to being a flower forever. Neither should you cling to a fixed self. The student took a deep breath and smiled. Thank you, Master. I begin to understand the wisdom of emptiness. The Zen Master nodded with warmth. Remember, this understanding is a journey, not a destination. Walk it gently. Be patient with yourself. And never forget, the self is empty, but it is also alive. It is the river flowing to the vast ocean. Learning to sit with your own silence. Come here, my dear one. Sit beside me. Let me tell you something that few ever learn, and even fewer dare to practice, the art of sitting with your own silence. You see, in today's world, everyone is running. Not just walking fast, but running from one thing to the next. From one app to another. One conversation to the next. We run from boredom. We run from loneliness. We run even for peace. Why? Because silence scares us. Not because silence is dangerous, but because in silence we begin to hear our own heart. And that heart, it sometimes carries pain. But I tell you today, silence is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. In silence, the truth rises. Not loud, not dramatic, but soft, gentle like a whisper in the dark. The Buddha often went into the forest to sit in silence. He wasn't hiding from the world. He was finding the world within. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in silence, truly alone, without music, without your phone, without thoughts buzzing around your mind like mosquitoes in the night? Just silence. Maybe it's been years. Maybe never. That is why so many lose themselves. Not because they're weak, not because they're bad, but because they never learned how to be still. If you do not sit with yourself, you will always be chasing others. You will be pulled in all directions, like a leaf in the wind. Silence reveals your true self. In silence, you begin to notice your breath. Just this, in, out, nothing fancy. And then, as you stay longer, something else happens. Your thoughts start talking. They tell you things you didn't want to hear. Regrets, worries, dreams, fears, they all rise to the surface. This is normal. Don't fight it. When muddy water is stirred, it becomes unclear. But if you let it sit, the dirt settles. The water becomes clear. The mind is the same. The more you stir it with distractions, the more confused it becomes. But in silence, it starts to settle. Slowly, naturally. Some people ask me, Master, why does silence feel painful? I smile gently. I say, because you filled your mind with so much noise, silence feels like absence. But it is not absence. It is presence. The deepest kind. In the silence, you remember things you've forgotten. Not memories, but feelings. The way sunlight fell on your skin when you were a child. The way your mother called your name with love. The smell of old books. The sound of rain at midnight. These are not things you chase. They return when you stop chasing. You also begin to notice how restless the body is. You want to move. You want to get up. The silence feels too heavy. But stay. Just stay. Even when it feels hard. Especially when it feels hard. This is where the practice begins. The Buddha taught, be a lamp unto yourselves. But how can you become a lamp if you never pause long enough to see your own flame? Silence shows you that flame. It flickers. It shakes. But it's there. And the more you sit with it, the stronger it becomes. You may think you need answers. But sometimes you don't need answers. You need space. Space to feel. To listen. To simply be. Silence gives you that space. In a world that keeps pushing you to perform, to speak, to do more, silence says just be. And, slowly, as you learn to sit in silence, you become less afraid of it. You start to enjoy it, like an old friend returning home. You'll start noticing things you never did before. The rhythm of your heartbeat, the weight of your thoughts, the dance of the breeze on your skin. This is not just sitting. This is awakening. Do not expect fireworks. Do not expect instant peace. Sometimes, the silence will make you cry. Good. Let the tears come. They are cleaning the heart. Sometimes the silence will bore you. Let it. Boredom is a doorway. Walk through it. You see, many people meditate but never go deep. Why? Because they want peace, but they don't want truth. But silence gives you both. Truth first, then peace. That's the order. And yes, truth can hurt, but also heals. Now let me share a story. A young man came to me once. He said, "Master, I feel lost. I don't know who I am." I said nothing, just handed him a bowl of water and told him to sit with it in silence for 1 hour. No talking, just sitting. He looked confused, but he did it. When he returned, I asked, "What did you see in the water?" He said, "At first, just my reflection. Then nothing. Then I saw the sky. Then I saw me, not my face, but me." I nodded. "And how did that feel?" He smiled with tears. "Like I came home." Silence is not a goal. It is not a punishment. It is a homecoming. We don't sit in silence to become better. We sit to remember who we already are. Silence also teaches you patience. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. You want results. You want calm. But the silence does not rush. It works slowly, like the tide shaping the shore. One breath at a time. And here's the beauty. The more you sit with silence, the less afraid you become of being alone. You start to enjoy your own company. You no longer need others to fill the emptiness, because the emptiness starts to feel full. That's the paradox. When you stop trying to fill yourself with the world, you begin to feel whole inside. It starts with attention, not judgment, not fixing, just gentle awareness. When you feel hurt, sit with that pain like you would sit beside a friend. When you feel confused, don't push it away. Hold it gently. That's how we rediscover our inner refuge. By being with ourselves, fully. Many people are afraid to go inward. They think, what if I find darkness? But remember this. Even in a dark cave, when you light a small candle, the darkness disappears. You are that candle. You are the light. The cave was never the problem. It was only waiting for your return. Your inner refuge is not about always being happy. It's about having a place inside you that welcomes all of you. The sadness, the doubts, the dreams, the regrets. Like a mother embracing her child who has come home after a long, difficult day. Have you ever seen a tree in heavy wind? The branches bend, leaves fly off, but the roots, they hold strong. That's what the refuge inside you is like. Deep roots, unshakable stillness. In meditation, we are not escaping the world. We are learning how to sit at the center of it, without being pulled in every direction. That sitting becomes a way of being, a return to simplicity. Let me tell you something surprising. You don't need to change yourself. Not the real you. You only need to drop what is not you, what you picked up along the way. Other people's opinions, false goals, fear-based beliefs. Every time you sit in silence, you peel back one layer. Every breath brings you one step closer. Slowly, gently, you start to feel more like you. Not the role you play, not the mask, but the being underneath, watching all of it. Some people say, "But I don't feel anything special when I sit quietly." That's okay. The inner refuge is not a loud thing. It's not fireworks or magic. It's more like the sound of a river far away, or the feeling of sunlight on your skin after days of rain. Subtle, healing, steady. In Buddhism, we speak of sati, mindfulness. It's not just about focus. It's about being completely here in this moment as it is, without running to the past, without rushing to the future. That's when the inner refuge opens itself. Once, a monk asked the Buddha, "What is the greatest protection?" The Buddha replied, "A well-trained mind." He didn't say money. He didn't say power. Just a mind that knows how to come back to stillness, to come home. And I want you to remember this. It doesn't matter how far you've drifted. It doesn't matter how long it's been. The path back to your refuge is always one breath away. One kind breath. One honest pause. One quiet evening walk where you choose to listen instead of scroll. That's how it begins. And slowly, you will feel it. That gentle strength returning. That quiet trust in yourselves. That warmth of being your own companion. The world outside may still be wild. People may still disappoint. But now, you know, You have a place that no one could take. A shelter made not of stone, but of understanding. So, when others rush, you walk slowly. When others shout, you whisper. When others chase noise, you follow silence. And in that silence, you hear the voice of your own soul saying, "Welcome back. I missed you." This is not an escape. This is the return. This is the rediscovery of the most sacred place on earth, the refuge within you. Sit with it, trust it, and let it hold you through all the storms to come. You're not lost, my dear one. You are only now remembering where you belong. Let us sit quietly for a few moments more. Let the world turn. Let the heart rest. Let the refuge hold you. Because even if no one else sees you, you do. And that is enough. Staying rooted in a stormy world. Sit with me for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish. Feel the air around you. Maybe there's a fan humming. Maybe there's silence. Maybe your heart is heavy. Maybe your thoughts are racing. That's all right. Let them be. Today, I will share something that we all need. How to stay rooted when the world feels like a storm. You see, the world is not always gentle. It pushes and pulls. It tests your patience, your values, your love, and your sense of self. People will come and go. Some will love you. Some will hurt you. Some will leave you without a word. At times, you will feel like everything you built is falling apart. And in those times, the greatest danger is not the world, it's forgetting who you are. Let me tell you a small story. There was once a tree in a village. Not very tall, not very wide. Just a quiet tree near the temple. Every year, storms would come, some with lightning, some with fierce winds, some with endless rain. Many smaller plants around it were washed away. Big trees nearby broke under the pressure. But this little tree stood firm. People often asked, "Why does this tree never fall?" A monk smiled and said, "Because its roots go deep, deeper than what we see." So the question is, how deep do your roots go? You see, in life, storms are not the problem. Storms will come no matter what. People will misunderstand you. You will be rejected. You will lose things. You will feel lost. That is the nature of the world. Even the Buddha faced criticism, betrayal, and sorrow. But what kept him centered? It was not avoidance. It was not running away. It was presence, stillness, deep roots in truth. When you know who you are, not the name, not the job, not the rule, but the quiet awareness beneath all that, then no matter how hard the wind blows, you do not break. But we are not taught this. We are taught to chase things that move. Success, beauty, recognition, even love. These things are lovely, but they are not permanent. If you build your home in them, you will be homeless when they go. And they always go. Buddhism teaches that clinging to what changes brings suffering. So what do we hold on to instead? Not things, but truths. The truth that you are enough as you are. The truth that everything changes. The truth that pain is part of life, but suffering is optional. The truth that you can be kind in the middle of anger. Still in the middle of chaos. That you can stand firm even when nothing else makes sense. To stay rooted means to stop being a leaf and remember you are the tree. But how? Start with awareness. Notice what pulls you off balance. Is it criticism? Is it loneliness? Is it the need to prove something to someone? Each time you notice what shakes you, you grow stronger. Each time you return to your breath instead of reacting, you go deeper. You do not need to solve everything. You just need to stay. Stay present. Stay honest. Stay kind. The Buddha never promised a storm-free life. He only showed a way to walk through it with peace. And that way begins by not abandoning yourself when life gets loud. Sometimes, it's not about fighting back. It's about being so still, the storm passes right through you. You don't need to control others to be peaceful. You don't need everything to go your way to be steady. You need to return to yourself. Not the false self made of labels and achievements, but the simple self, the breathing one, the noticing one, the one who is alive, right now. Let me remind you of something important. When the world makes you feel like you're too much or not enough, that's not your truth. That's just the storm talking. Don't believe every noise the wind makes. Sit, breathe, listen deeper. Underneath the fear, underneath the noise, there's a calm. That calm is you. A monk once told his disciple, "When the wind is loud, be the mountain." The disciple asked, "What if the mountain feels afraid?" The monk said, "Then be the mountain that feels fear but still stands." So yes, you can feel overwhelmed and still be strong. You can feel lost and still be guided. You can feel broken and still be whole. This world will not always understand your silence. It may not appreciate your softness. But that's not your task. Your task is to be real, to be rooted, to be awake. Do not follow every voice you hear. Some voices want you to forget yourself. Be busy, be loud, be fast. But your soul does not need speed. It needs space. It needs depth. Find your rituals. Maybe it's sitting quietly with tea. Maybe it's writing in a journal. Maybe it's walking under the open sky. These small acts anchor you. Don't wait for a big awakening. Root yourself in daily awareness. Even a short pause, one deep breath, can bring you back when a storm tries to carry you away. And don't believe the lie that you're alone. You are part of everything. You belong to this breath, this earth, this moment. You are not as separate leaves. You are part of the great tree of life. When you remember this, you stop chasing meaning because you become meaning. So when everything feels out of control, remind yourself, I am here. I am breathing. I'm not what is happening to me. I'm the one who watches. Stay rooted in truth, in simplicity, in kindness. And when the storm is over, and it always ends, you will find that you are still here. Stronger, softer, wiser, still you, still whole, still rooted. Let the world do what it must. But never lose yourself again. You are never truly lost. Call me. Sit down. Let's talk one last time. You've walked a long journey to reach this moment. You've heard about the noise of the world, the weight of expectations, the games of the ego, the nature of emptiness, and the deep peace of returning to yourselves. But I want to tell you something now, something important, something that may sound simple, but carries the weight of 1,000 teachings. You were never truly lost. Yes, I know. Life made you feel that way. People made you believe it. You were told to act a certain way, to look a certain way, to succeed, to smile, to stay quiet. So you did. Slowly, gently, you moved away from the soft voice inside you. That voice that once laughed without fear. That voice that cried without shame. That voice that simply was. But that voice never died. It only waited, patiently. You see, the path of losing oneself doesn't always start with a big choice. Sometimes it starts with a small compromise. You say yes when your heart says no. You stay quiet when you want to speak. You laugh when you want to cry. And slowly, your reflection changes. Not in the mirror, but inside. But listen carefully now. The self you think you've lost is still here. It is not in the past. It is not gone. It is just hidden beneath layers of fear, habits, and the stories you've been told. And now, you are waking up. Buddhism never says you must become someone else. It invites you to unbecome, to remove the dust on the mirror so your true face shines again. What is this face? It is not a rule. It is not a title. It is not what others think you are. Your true face is the silence before thought, the stillness under movement, the watcher behind the eyes. There is no greater peace than being yourself, fully, gently, without apology. People will still try to pull you into their world. They will say, "Why did you do this? Why are you like them?" Smile. But their words pass like clouds in the sky. You don't need to argue. You just need to remember. Remember the feeling of stillness you've touched. Remember how it feels when you're not performing. Remember the breath, the present moment. That's all it takes to come home. In this series, I told you stories from the Buddha's wisdom, but more importantly, I reminded you of your own. The Buddha never said, "Follow me blindly." He said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." This lamp is already within you. All you need to do is stop hiding it. There will still be days when you feel shaken. That's okay. The path is not always smooth, but now you know where to return. You don't need to search in books, in people, in places. The path is inward, and it is always open. Let me give you a simple picture. Imagine a tree. In storms, it bends. In the heat, it dries. In cold, it becomes still. But its roots remain. It doesn't shout. It doesn't run. It just stays. And in time, it blooms again. You are that tree. You always were. So don't fear the world. Don't fear being alone. Don't fear what others think. None of that changes who you are inside. Your essence is unshaken. Your light, untouched. Yes, sometimes we do lose ourselves. But now, you know how to return. Just breathe. Just pause. Just feel your feet on the ground. That's it. This entire journey, every teaching, every word, leads back to this simple truth. You are already whole. You are not broken. You are not missing. You just forgot. And now, you remember. Let's not end this with grand words. Let's end this with softness. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Whisper gently to yourself, I'm still here. I always was. That is enough. That is everything. And before we close, I want to thank you. Yes, you, the one watching, listening, feeling. You gave you time, your presence, your heart. That means more than words can say. But can I ask something? There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people subscribed. That's right. You might have watched, listened, even cried, but still haven't joined the journey officially. Why wait? If even one line in this series helped you feel seen, helped you breathe deeper, or brought a moment of peace, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. It helps this light reach others who may be walking through darkness. You're not just helping us, you're helping someone else find a way home. Because sometimes, what saves a person is just hearing, you are not alone. So let's carry this light together. Let's remember who we are, again and again. Not with noise, but with silence. Not with fear, but with awareness. Not with force, but with love. This is the end of the series, but the beginning of your truth. Go gently, stay awake, and no matter what happens, don't lose yourself again. The Zen Master smiles and bows in silence.